and that's what came up with Gamergate. It wasn't necessarily that she, slept her way through her career. It was that she slept her way through her career, acted like she didn't. And this is also an opportunity that women take advantage of a lot and then pretend that they're victimized for it. Whereas men would love to have that chance. They would love to have that chance. You can access these databases, but you have to give these big reports on exactly what you're going to study and why what you're studying isn't going to hurt anyone's feelings.
Mm. Well, not just feelings. They wouldn't care if it hurt white people's feelings. If it hurt straight people.
Sorry, white people aren't.
Anybody who matters. Anyone who's really human.
Yes, gee whiz. What are you thinking?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to say something so silly and so stupid. I mean,
so
you meant people, not,
Yeah.
Would you like to know more?
No, you said drama, and that sounded fun. And I want to hear about drama.
We're going to talk about the Sweet Baby Ink drama. So I was talking with a fan today, right? And they were like, hey, you should do more like topical issues in gaming and stuff like that because you seem to really like gaming. And I was like, I do really like gaming. Why haven't I been covering gaming politics?
What's wrong with you, Malcolm?
And then so there's a event that's going on right now in the gaming space that is sort of being called Gamergate 2. Or that's what the left is trying to make it. So we're going to go over Gamergate. We're going to go over Sweet Baby Ink. But I want to make this broader than just video games. Okay. So we're going to start with a URL that I sent you on WhatsApp.
All right, I'm taking a look at it. It is Robbie Starbuck on Twitter. He says, this is wild. Someone went through the entire Texas sex offender registry and found that the government data is insanely wrong. Oh no. In government data, it says 40% of offenders are white, but after removing all blacks and Hispanics listed as white, it drops to 28%. This is happening with all kinds of crime, so our stats grossly undercount all of the crimes committed by blacks and Hispanics while overcounting the whites. All of the overcounting happens only for white people. Why? Before you call me racist, I'm Hispanic. I'm just a Hispanic that believes that it's important to have the real stats that tell us the real story of what's going wrong. Without that, we can't fix it effectively. We need to force states to fix their crime stats so we can get to the truth. Oh, Lord almighty.
Yeah, I also want you to scroll down and see like how big of a problem this is.
Isn't Twitter great? Beneath him is someone who named their Twitter account Unbiased Crime Report, and they downloaded the entire database, but now they're querying it. It's just so cool. I love that. Okay, hold on. Oh, Elon Musk tweeted on this. Okay, so it's clearly going viral. This is a huge problem, and not just in Texas, says Meg Ultra. Oh God, there's all these people who clearly are not white who are listed as white.
So it's basically a bunch of obviously black people who are being listed as white in crime statistics. And this is what we're about to go to with the Sweet Baby Ink controversy here. And I wanted to start out with this because this is, something related that a lot of people aren't seeing. There is a large scale falsification of reality. And people are seeing it, and they are seeing that the powers that be in this world are lying to them and manipulating them. And
what is going on there? Like, is someone, do you think, going in post hoc? I mean, I don't imagine police departments are marking offenders as white.
Yes, I believe they are, because they're afraid they need to get their stats good. So a police department needs to make it look like they're not over arresting black people or something like that. So they're just labeling them as white, which is creating incorrect crime statistics.
Well, then does that also mean, in the less flattering direction, that the stats that indicate that police violence against white people isn't as high as we had thought?
Maybe, but the point being, I'm sure if it went in the other direction in terms of stuff like violence, leftist groups would figure this out, because they are very interested in digging for those forms of truth that support what they've got a whole government and university departments dedicated to that.
Okay.
And this is where the Sweet Baby Ink thing becomes important, because before I go too far into it, something I want to point out is a Department of Homeland Security funded Take This just put out a Google Doc demanding that game companies denounce Gamergate 2. So a government funded entity, your tax dollars are going to defend this kind of brainwashing.
What is Gamergate 2? What is Gamergate the sequel?
So do you know what Gamergate 1 is, by the way? I don't know. I'm sort of wondering.
Yeah, okay. So if I'm broadly summarizing it, tell me if I'm right or wrong. It sort of came out when a female journalist who reviewed games turned out to have apparently slept her way through a lot of her career, and people criticized her for that.
Yes,
Okay.
the Five Guys incident. Well, not people. It was an ex-boyfriend criticized her for that on 4chan. It went viral, but it became the epitome of. And the thing about Gamergate 1 is it really was undefensible. Like, if you went through her positions, they were genuinely undefensible. This is somebody who had obviously and transparently slept with a number of the people who she was writing articles about and had these ridiculous woke opinions on just about everything. Like, her entire career was fabricated and achieved with sleeping with people. And that the left saw this as okay, as something worth defending. And this reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from you is where we were at this secret society conference and one person there was like, oh yeah, and when I heard
No, it was literally, we were sitting on a panel of actors, like famous actors who had been in movies that you have seen, talking about Me Too, because this was back when Me Too was a big issue. And it was, I think, 3 women and then 1 well-known actor. And
if there's anything more emblematic than that, 3 nobody female actors and 1 well-known male actor.
Classic. And then there's just this one moment after they complained about a whole bunch of vague stuff, but nothing had actually happened to them, where he was like, well, I mean, you know, I wish I could sleep with someone to get ahead. Like, he like really wished that he, like, it would be so much easier if he could just be a little slutty and get a role, you know, like he couldn't do that. And he like wistfully was like, I would like to be Me Too, you know, please. Me too. Me too.
Yeah, me too. Sleep with me. Use me to get ahead. I will take that.
I think that was the big, and that's what came up with Gamergate. It wasn't necessarily that she, you know, slept her way through her career. It was that she slept her way through her career, acted like she didn't. And this is also an opportunity that women take advantage of a lot and then pretend that they're victimized for it. Whereas men would love to have that chance. They would love to have that chance.
Yeah, and that was the thing. So Gamergate 1, completely undefensible, but the left just like bit it and ran with it like a crazy. And gamer media back then had already gone super woke and was like not. So Gamergate 2, which is interesting because the left has chosen Gamergate 2 as the title for this. Like, they think they won Gamergate. They lost Gamergate. The gamer community basically permanently turned against the left and now is seen as a conservative hobby. Like, why would you want a rematch? And then why would you choose this?
Well, but wait, what is Gamergate 2? We just talked about
Gamergate. Talk about Sweet Baby Inc. So Sweet Baby Inc., this controversy, so I'll sort of go over it. So they are a organization that you could hire to help make your games more woke.
No.
Yes. So basically you would hire this.
So it's literally put a chick in it and make her gay and lame Inc.
Is there a problem, people?
No problem at all, Mrs. Kennedy.
We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Linguine and clam sauce.
Excuse me, I believe I asked you to put a chick in this and make her gay?
Yes, the chef was a little confused what you meant by that.
It means put a chick in the linguine and make her fucking gay! And I want it lame!
Like, that is
basically that. So when you were making a game, you would hire this team and they would have a lot of say. Like, they would be key writers on games and stuff like that. And so, of course, one group decided. And hold on, I should start with how racist the woman who runs this group is and how reprehensible they are. Because you might be thinking, oh, they're not that bad.
Oh, come on. Everyone who ends up making a living off of this tends to be pretty
So she says things like, you can't be racist to white people.
That's classic, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't, obviously.
Here are some tweets of hers. I usually get grossed out when straight white people kiss. Had a nightmare that I was a white male gamer. So imagine, and people are like, oh, you can't just flip the things. You can't be like, I had a nightmare that I was a black male gamer. And people are like, oh, you can't equivalate those two things. And it's like, no. The problem with racism is that it dehumanizes groups of people. You are dehumanizing groups of people. And the fact that you feel safe dehumanizing a group of people shows you which group has power. Racism as a problem was never specific to black people. It's not like when we're like, oh, slavery was bad, we're like, yeah, but it would have been okay if it was white people. It is a group in power lording that power over a group without power and dehumanizing the group that has less power. And there is no better way to show which group has power than which group you're not allowed to criticize. This is just something that's transparently obvious. Through what they're doing, they are showing that it is their groups that have power over other groups. And I should note here, when I talk about black people are like, well, black people are disempowered. Well, they don't mean black people. They don't mean diverse people. They don't mean trans people. By that, what I mean is they mean black people only insofar as black people follow what they're doing. And this is why they like remove somebody's black card when a black person is like, oh, I feel really uncomfortable with what you guys are doing. And they go, oh, well, then you're not officially black anymore. In fact, you're actually a racist. You have internalized racism. Or a woman's like, oh, well, I think what you guys are doing are wrong. Oh, no, you're not a woman anymore. You now have internalized misogyny. Or a trans person, like Buck Angel or Caitlyn Jenner, doesn't show complete ideological conformity. They're like, oh, yep, you're not really a trans person anymore. Biden famously said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. This is a classic thing that they do. They are not about, when they say we're about protecting black people or trans people or women, they don't mean people with dark-colored skin. They mean people who agree with them. And this is how they've also transformed the word racism to no longer mean they're like, oh, saying you have black friends doesn't mean you're not a racist. And it's like, no, it literally does. Like, if you don't see black people as different from white people and you associate with black people as equals, then you are not a racist in any meaningful sense of the term racist. What they mean is they are trying to redefine racist as seeing race relations through a leftist ideology, and if you don't, then you are a racist. A far leftist, minority status is not conferred by literally being a minority. It is conferred by the way a person thinks and acts. And if you didn't happen to be lucky enough to be born a minority within a leftist community, well, that was the core innovation of all of these new genders and everything like that. You can just start identifying as non-binary or something. As Simone and I have pointed out, by leftist terminology, because neither of us cares what our gender is at any sort of deep emotional level, we would be considered agender, which is a form of gender, queer, which is a form of trans. So we would be considered trans within leftist ideology. They have broadened these minority definitions so much that anyone can fall under them, so long as they ideologically identify as leftists, in the same way that Simone and I couldn't claim any of the privileges that trans people get within leftist communities because we don't hold the ideology of the leftist community. But if we wanted to, yeah, if we wanted to completely submit ourselves to the far left cult, we could get those benefits. And you're like, no, leftists, they do really care about the plight of, like, brown and black people. And it's like, okay, well, what about what's going on in Darfur right now? There's a genocide going on. What are they doing about that? Oh, nothing? Oh, you didn't even know about it? But you knew about the situation in Israel. Why did you know about the situation in Israel and not Darfur? Is it because in one case it allows them to exercise anti-Semitism, and in the other case it doesn't? In the other case, it's black on black people, and they just don't care about black on black violence in the same way they don't in the US? What about what's going on in Haiti right now? If you did know about that, are leftists doing anything about it? No, they're sure putting up an awful big stink about what's going on in Israel. Why is what's going on in Israel important, but what's going on in Haiti isn't important, and what's going on in Darfur isn't important? Because if they actually cared about black victims, all three incidents would be the same in their eyes. And the truth is, they don't. They care how they can use these tragedies to their political ends and to enforce their will on other groups.
But I also think this is so indicative of what someone was highlighting to us at that conference we were speaking at the other weekend, where they were like, I think you don't understand the sheer extent to which the people who work in marketing and who work at these like big corporations are completely divorced from the reality of their actual consumers. Like, here is this woman who's like, oh, the concept of my primary consumer, the target audiences of the company that I work for, is disgusting to me. Like, yeah, that is insane.
She knows that most gamers are white, cis males. And she's like, oh, we need to, she described it as like, in one of the talks she gave, as like giving them their broccoli. Like we know they don't.
She dislikes them. She dislikes them.
No. Hold on.
Though.
She knows that they don't like the ideas that she's inserting into games, but they need to do it to fix these people. Is the way that she sees it, like ideologically fix it. Like it's very explicit what her goal is, and that she knows that what she is adding to games isn't liked by her audience, or she wouldn't describe it as like giving them their broccoli, right? Like,
so why are these people hiring her when she's clearly a poor business decision?
So this is interesting. She has spoken on this before, and we know exactly why they're hiring her. She says what you need to do is, if you are woke within a company, you know, we've described wokeness as like an infection. If you go to our video, The Anatomy of the Urban Monoculture, is she calls for all the woke people in a company to like take the marketing department aside and tell them what's going to happen to them if they don't hire consultants like her. I.e., that they will secretly flame the marketing department, basically terrorize, threaten the marketing department.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
So nice marketing, nice online reputation you got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
And she means this on the personal level, not at the company, but like they will personally start attacking the marketing departments of these companies. And they've shown, and this is actually how this all blew up originally. Now keep in mind, these are the people who's supposed to be fighting for inclusivity. And she's saying things like, I hate men, I hate white people, I hate cis people. It makes me, it's like, imagine if you said like, it makes me sick to see gay people kiss. Like, imagine that. And if you wonder which group has power, if they're like, oh, it's okay to make fun of a group that's out of power, definitionally, the group you can't make fun of is the group with power. Definitionally, the group you can make fun of without punishment is a group that is disempowered.
I'm sorry, but gamers, the basement dwelling unemployed who have the most time to play games, are the most powerful people in the world, Malcolm, because they run 4chan, and 4chan runs everything. I mean, whatever 4chan is now.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, she means like 8chan. These, I don't know. They go to new places, stamp out one hiding place, and they've got new ones, which is fantastic. That's why they're the world defenders of our civilization.
Damn straight.
You should see our video, Urban versus Rural. It was one of our early ones. If you haven't seen it on Revolutions. And it sort of goes into the online sphere of revolution. But so what happened is all that was happening is a group on Steam decided to track the games that this company had worked on. That's it. It was a small group. It had less than 1,000 people in it. It was a nothing burger. Somebody from this company found this group and decided they were going to try to get everyone on it who had this account on Steam shut down. Now, keep in mind, on Steam, like I buy games on Steam. Like they're basically saying we want to take away all the games from everybody who's involved in these communities, and they wanted to do it through using.
It's like taking away your Amazon account functionally,
but much bigger than that because you still own all the stuff you bought on Amazon.
Oh God! So they didn't even play the games that they bought if their Steam accounts were disabled?
Yeah, they were revoked for sort of hate and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh God, no! And they were like, "You care about your precious account."
That's dirty. That's low.
No, well, yeah, and and of course, it blew up in the opposite direction. Streisand Effect. Now there is 194,000 people plus in this event, and yeah, it's really psychotic that and now they're freaking out. So it's worse knowing what happened next. So then Sweet Baby Inc. started freaking out, and they called all their media friends because, of course, they've got media friends in the gamer media, right? Kotaku, right? Kotaku in Action is one of my favorite subreddits that I love. It's like the last in action group. Tumblr in Action I used to love, but like anyway, I'm kind of sad I've never been on Kotaku in Action yet. I sometimes see them talk about YouTubers. They're a good group. Anyway, so Kotaku in Action, they are called that because Kotaku is seen as like the Tumblr of the gaming media, just a publication you should never read if you want anything that's like not just totally biased. But Kotaku published a piece defending them, and they basically put up this, and a bunch of other gaming media published pieces defending them, trying to be like, oh, this isn't a problem. oh, this is no big deal. Oh, and what I love is the changes. They say diversity isn't their fault. Diversity is what the customers want. It's like, if it's what the customers want, then why are they saying threaten marketing departments with mass cancellation of people who don't even play video games? They know it's not what the customers want. That's why they're saying it's like eating your vegetables, because they know it's not what the customers want. It's the most insane double think, like the manipulation of these prison statistics.
Yeah, that is, it's hard to believe, but I, at this point, cannot be surprised by what you say, because it is in line with.
Right. And now the left is like, because it's like going on, is like Gamergate 2. They want fight number 2.
Wow.
We got to remind the next generation of gamers that leftists are not your friends. They don't want to give you stuff. They only want to take stuff from you. And if you are straight or you happen to be white, they're really not your friends. They don't think of you as fully human, and they think it's okay to dehumanize you in jokes with the people they work with.
Quite apparently, yeah.
And that when you speak up against them, they will try to take things from you, and they think that that's their right. And then when you take things from them, when you point out, oh, they're like, oh, it's mob action against us. And it's like, what were you trying to do that created this whole phenomenon? Mob action against other people. Like, you use these tactics. And this is what's really interesting about the left, is this idea that they can use tactics against other people, but when other people use those tactics against them, it's completely psychotic and immoral, and that they can get the mainstream media on their side when they do this. It is because they genuinely believe, and this is a big thing that I think has changed about the right recently, and I really appreciate it, and it's something that you and I, really feel, is that what we should be fighting for is to give everyone a chance to voice their opinions.
Yeah.
That is what we want, is an information-free economy.
Yeah.
That is not what they want. They do not believe, like, when I look at a leftist, I'm like, your opinions are totally valid, and I want an environment where you can voice those opinions.
Mm-hmm. And we want it, especially those who disagree with us, because if we're wrong, we want to know we're wrong. And if they're wrong, we would love for them to be exposed to ideas. And if you stifle the debate, if you stifle the expression of dissenting or different views in the first place, there is no way to question or shame or in any way even punish people for ideas that are genuinely wrong. Like, the only way you can really get someone on that front is if you subject them to either a very, very robust argument and or so much social disapproval that they're like, wow, I just really need to not believe this anymore.
Yeah, well, and something you talked about that I thought was really interesting is the difference between marketing departments' demographics and society. Is you were telling me about that. Where did you hear about this?
Oh, it was when we were at Ray Platform. They were talking about how divorced.
There was people who went to talk to marketing departments, and they'd start with, no, I feel like maybe like AJ Crabwell was talking about this. Or
maybe this is a different conversation you've had with someone. I know we talk so much that you just assume that most conversations you have with interesting people are with me, but that's not true.
But they were like, yeah, they speak to marketing departments, and one of the things they start with is, what are the demographics of this marketing department? Like, how many people here are women? How many people here vote Democrat versus Republican?
Yeah.
And then they're like, what do you think the Democrats of your consumer base is? And they would compare the two. And marketing departments were always vastly more progressive and vastly more female than the consumer base that they were marketing to.
Well, think about it. I mean, like, I would say more conservative people in general don't choose to go to a university and do not choose to get marketing degrees. Progressive women do that. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, but it means that they have the people who are making all these decisions in our society about how they're going to structure games, how they're going to structure, as they're moving up within companies and stuff like that, they have no idea what the people who they're selling to want. They know what they're ideologically supposed to believe those people want, because what were they studying in university? Not marketing. They were studying ideological conformity to the urban monoculture. They were studying what...
Yeah.
change their relative status in that culture.
Well, I feel like many people in marketing, especially those who study it. And so I think you're going to get this at larger organizations where people are being hired by HR professionals based on their credentials and not on outcomes.
Yeah.
So like that's where you get women, where you actually get like outcome oriented marketers. You get men. You get men who help with Facebook ads and tactical campaigns. All
Growth
those types of
hacking is what men do.
Yeah, they're growth hackers. Yeah, and they're very oriented around results. Whereas the larger businesses really are not hiring these spunky, results-based, very grassroots growth hackers. They're hiring college credentialed female marketing experts. And I don't even, what's so weird is I think they've lost the plot so much that they don't even necessarily think their job, because they're not results oriented, is to sell the freaking product. It's to look a certain way and make the company look a certain way. And these days they believe that the certain way you're supposed to look and make the company look is very progressive.
It's actually interesting that you say this, that there was a big freak out in marketing departments when like Google and Facebook ads started. They could test like the amount of sales that were happening through the systems. And they were like, well, this destroys marketing as a field. And that was because marketing as a field was optimized around things that didn't actually drive sales.
Yeah.
It was, and you know, they buy all these ads and stuff like that, but because you couldn't track it wasn't working.
It was hard to prove that it wasn't working.
Yeah. And so when people were saying, and there was this big freak out in the field of marketing, oh, you've destroyed marketing as a field, what they meant is you destroyed non-evidence-based marketing.
Yeah.
And I'd argue that every company that still has a non-evidence-based marketing department, you know, for TV ads, for branding, etc., these departments should be ended. They have no point in a
I think it's only a matter of time until they are. It's so bizarre that they still exist. And I think a lot of it, even in startups, because, you know, startups do these too, is they just kind of think, okay, well, now we need to scale. Now we need to grow. I'm just going to hire someone to handle it. And then they just like make a marketing department and hope that it works. and it just doesn't work that way. But I think people they're getting wise to it. For sure.
Well, I want to loop you back to the beginning of this discussion. When you look at like government statistics being manipulated as much as they're being manipulated.
But it reminds me of your discussions too, of like
with demographics. I'm like, the demographic rates are much worse than you think.
Well, they are, but it's that classic issue of what you measure ends up backfiring. So if you're trying to make sure that your department looks, you know, equitable or whatever, you don't want, you're being judged based on
two different things. There's the issue is them marking black people as white, right?
Yeah.
Which is one thing.
Yeah.
But then the other thing was, even if you actually parse their statistics, they didn't say what the government was saying they said. By like orders of magnitude, not by like marginal differences. Why? Why have they lied this much? This reminds me of a really famous thing from the UK where when they were doing genetics testing, like, why don't we have access to full human genome databases anymore in the UK? Well, they shut down access to full human genome databases because when they were contrasting them with cultural and religious groups, it turned out that one group had rates of child, specifically father-daughter graping and childbirth, that was 1,000 times higher than the general population. It might have been 10,000 times higher than the general population.
There's something deeply disturbing.
Yes, they said that, well, if these stats were known, it could spur certain types of hate. And I think everyone knows who was doing this. And that therefore we needed to shut down access to all of these databases unless all of what was being published from them had been reviewed by like ultra progressives.
Well, and I think that's not how it goes. You can access these databases, but you have to give these big reports on exactly what you're going to study and why what you're studying isn't going to hurt anyone's feelings.
Well, not just feelings. They wouldn't care if it hurt white people's feelings. If it hurt straight people.
Sorry, white people aren't.
Anybody who matters. Anyone who's really human.
Yes, gee whiz. What are you thinking?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to say something so silly and so stupid. I mean, you meant people, not, you know.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
No, but it is wild how transparently racist the progressive movement has become. And it's upsetting to me. It's upsetting to me because I genuinely have a deep level of antagonism towards racism, and to see all of the racists collating on the left and taking these positions and being defended by my tax dollars. Like, seriously, we need to do something about this. This is getting out of control. This is no longer like normal stuff. If you have ever questioned, you know, would you have done something during like slavery in the South? Would you have done something during the Nazi government? Like, now is the time. If you go along with what the institutional racists, the progressives are doing, you would not have.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Because it's getting to be, the bias is getting to be that profound now.
Well, and this is the thing. They're like, oh, well, we're not killing people yet. But would they? Would they if they could? I mean, we've already seen them, like with the trucker rally, like cancel people's bank accounts, prevent them from doing work. They tried to ruin. And when you ruin somebody's livelihood, when you're like, I'm going to go after them and try to get them fired from their job, and they have like a family and kids, yeah, you might as well be. Like, these people are monsters. And if you don't stand up to them just as vociferously as you imagine you would have evil groups in the past, racist groups that control powerful institutions in the past, then you are just as cowardly as everyone who went along with every one of these evil organizations historically.
Well, so what do you think people should do? I mean,
I think that people need to, in their voting patterns, in the way that they're communicating with other people, be like, look, these people are evil. And we need to highlight
and actually vote against it. So many people are like, I'm just sick of the system. It's so screwed up. And like, yeah, it is. But so you're just you're gonna not vote because this is why we can't have nice things.
And you can do mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is not.
Yeah, it's fine. Well, there's voter fraud on all ends, and the only way that you're really going to win is by overwhelming the other side with numbers. That's it. Because there's only, for example, in every district where there is voting. Let's say that there is, active fraud. Okay, let's just say that that's happening. Well, if, for example, the number of votes that comes in is higher than the population of registered voters of that area, the election is going to get thrown out. The other side can only do so much in terms of voter fraud, like literally. And that's if they did everything. And that is if they were actually as competent as you think they are. And they really aren't. You just have to show up because they only have so much that they can even theoretically play with and mess with. So just show up. Just show up. The Republican Party is really shooting themselves in the foot, especially with all this election campaign or election integrity talk, because they are actively dissuading people from voting.
It's a huge problem. All the pollsters know it. All the voting people know it. It's like look. Does the left engage in voter fraud? Yes. I mean, very obviously.
Does the right engage in voter fraud? Probably too.
Yeah, no, we know they've been convicted. Like, we know that the right engages. The right and the left engaging in voter fraud.
Everyone cheats. Everyone cheats because
but hold on. Different. Are the institutional bureaucrats who are engaging in this voter fraud competent? No, they are not. You can still win with overwhelming numbers.
Yeah. Okay. So vote, I guess, is your advice. I like that.
Vote and don't buy from companies that engage in this stuff. And it's fortunate, if Sweet Baby Inc. worked on good games, that would be one thing.
Well, they don't though.
All the games they work on turn out terrible.
Oh, okay. Well, that's. I mean,
it's like a sign, so you can just keep a sticker. When are they working on something?
Well, so then you would say, religiously speaking, they are agents of the basilisk, where they are doing God's work by eliminating the weak and corrupt, so that they don't have as long of a lifespan and make less of an impact ultimately.
Yeah.
God bless, they're great. Let them do their thing. Good job.
I love
Applause. I love you too, Malcolm. What you want to do now? Wait, we need to be. The audience does not like it when we're the other way.
Gosh. This is the problem with an autistic audience. They need it.
The problem, it's their correctness that we must respect.